beautiful people. This is the second episode that I did in cooperation with the Hot Topics Live podcast. If you enjoy this show and maybe you want to see more interviews like this, please support the host of the show, Gloria, Goldberg and Kia Baker, by clicking on the link in the description of the video that brings you right to their Facebook site where they have all their podcasts linked. Thank you.
Hello everybody, welcome to Hot Topics, the show. This is Gloria Goldberg, the founder of the podcast Unbreakable Life with Glory, where I talk about depression, anxiety, and PTSD in a natural way, in a holistic way, to make you feel much better. And now in this moment of our lives, we need more than that than any else. And next to me, I have my beautiful, successful entrepreneur, Kia Baker.
I don't know why that makes me laugh every time. But if you don't know me by now, I'm Kia Baker. I am the host and creator of the Female Veterans Podcast. I am also the creator and host of the upcoming series, Women Warrior Stories, for the Veterans Channel. And I am a success coach at London Real Academy, where I get the privilege of helping people actualize on their goals at an incredibly rapid pace. So it's a lot of fun. And I am happy to be here with you, creating value.
Well, I'm also very happy with you too, and with all our followers and friends and families, because I have families also watching us. So hello, Mom. Hello, everybody. They think I'm famous. I said, of course I'm famous.
Of course you are. What else would you
be? Of course. You know, sometimes they think I'm like a doctor. I say, no, I'm not a doctor.
But you do help a lot of people. Your podcast is incredible.
Yeah. So, Kia, how you feel today?
Well, I feel amazing. Yeah, I'm very happy. How about you?
Me too. I feel great. I'm super happy because I'm evolving a lot. And every time, like I said before, I feel more peaceful. And I think I'm getting into a place that I will be able to talk more about how to control and manage depression and not feel affected, because I do that for myself. And I'm super happy, and also guided by the guest that we have today. He's part of my complete journey, I think.
Well, I would agree with that. He seems to be maybe a fan favorite too, because his last appearance on our show is getting a lot of love. So we had to have him back. He is part of my healing journey as well, sort of like a guide. And he's really intelligent, which I like especially, and just very honest, which sometimes is hard, but we need, right?
Yes.
So, and I love that too. So I'm really pleased to have him back. I feel really lucky that he made time for us.
Me too. What he give you in a session is like a tough love in a place that's gonna make you to think, and for you order to feel better and transcend and move forward with your life. And let's bring him in now so we can talk more about this, because I want to save all this time to talk with him.
100. Let's do it.
Let's do it. His name is Julian Paulson. Here he is. Hey, Julian, again.
Nice to see you too. And hello
Me too.
To all the listeners and watchers. And I hope today we can enjoy sharing some knowledge that might assist people in having a life with less suffering and more joy, more creativity. Right? So everyone comes into their own energy and enjoys being themselves. Well, for those who don't know me yet and maybe haven't seen the first episode, I do work as a psychotherapist in Germany. So I'm originally German. But what I do as well, and that's what I mainly focus on, is now the spiritual journey. Because The modern psychotherapist is not one anymore that it has mainly a materialistic ideology. More and more people wake up spiritually. More and more psychotherapists have their own spiritual experience and now do understand, in order to transcend the suffering, when people realize something of spirit, something authentically, have a direct experience with it, they start transcending fear. And when we transcend fear, we stop being violent, we stop creating suffering, and we find our own way to this inner joy that is untouchable by no matter what happens in the physical experience.
You know what, last time I get stuck and it hooked up to the ego death. I love that subject. It's like, and I also love the way it sounds, ego death. And when I talk about to other people, ego death, what is that? What is that? Like who you kill? I say, no, you don't kill anybody. You kill yourself.
Well, let me say it like this: you don't kill yourself. You kill who you think you are.
Yes.
You kill an illusion of who you think you are. You kill nothing real. Only what is unreal, what is not you, leaves you. This is the point of an ego death. It's the liberation from identity. You see, identity has become a prison for so many people. They believe to be their memories, they believe to be their culture, they believe to be their race or their religion. But this has put them in a place where they have very little true choice about life. Yeah. So when we draw identity from our limited set of experience that we have in this lifetime, then we truly have created a trap. For our intelligence is much vaster than the accumulation of what you have in the brain. And most of you who are intuitive, you know this. You have had moments of deja vus where you knew something. You had dreams that were of a prophetic nature in your life. Most of you who have some sort of access to intuition do understand there is an intelligence that is beyond the mind, yeah, beyond the brain, and you can, in that sense, tune into it. But most of us who have gone through such a cultural programming have forgotten how to do it. This is why people create lives they actually do not enjoy, because they're not in alignment with their deeper intelligence. But they live the lives, for example, their fathers or their mothers wanted for them, or their religious leaders wanted for them, or their politicians wanted for them. These are not lives of freedom. These are lives that are basically copied and pasted. Yeah, we have, in that sense, not created our own story, but have other people, let's say, we have delegated to them the authority to write our stories. And many do this out of convenience, because they are afraid to be their own writers. Yeah, they don't have someone in their close environment who encourages them to be the creator of their own story. So many follow the path that has already been laid out. And this is where the limitations come in. Yeah. And you have, in your own experience, had moments where you had certain beliefs about yourself that weren't true, and they actually became a limitation. You couldn't go where your heart was at, because your belief wouldn't allow it. And then we need to free ourselves of those programs.
So let me ask you a question right there. Like when I was growing up, I was raised in a pattern that my father and all the descendants of him create, right? And I always knew that everything what he was giving us, or the education and the way he was raising us, that was very violent and all that kind of stuff, inside of me was telling me, no, this is not right. I have a lot of fight with him, because I knew inside of me that what he was doing was not the right thing. So what happens in there, for example, in my case, when I feel like that was not the pattern for me?
Right. Well, you already knew intuitively that this is not your own wisdom. This is something imposed on you. There's certain belief imposed on you that violence needs to happen in life, is the belief. Violence is fear-based. Yeah, those beings who are not in a state of fear do not commit violence. Yeah, so someone who is afraid that they're not in control of life, they become violent. Deep down, you know this wasn't the way for you. But the difficulty is when this happens to you as a child, is that you have a vulnerability, neurologically speaking, because we are imprinting very strongly in the earlier years of our life certain energetic experiences or phenomena that you have maybe in your direct surroundings. And as a child, you're very sensitive. You pick on emotional energies, you know what's going on. And you know, for example, that the grown-ups around you, they're out of balance. They're not in touch with themselves, but they're in denial of it. But as a child, when you say it, what you receive is rejection. But of course, as a child, you have no way of making yourself independent. Yeah, that you are in that sense dependent on your parents. So you live in that situation where you know that what being told to you is not truth, but you kind of have to submit to it until you can leave the household. And this is the time where you accumulate trauma. Later in life, when you've left that household, you can then start healing yourself. But you can only do it if you forgive those who have, in that sense, who were the perpetrators or those who have given you the energy of suffering. Because if you don't forgive it, you keep that energy. So when I have clients who say they don't want to be like their father or their mother, they often become like their father or their mother because they don't forgive them. They don't want to understand that their parents weren't almighty perpetrators. Yeah, they weren't monsters, but they were beings who couldn't transcend their own fear, who couldn't heal, who didn't know how to, didn't have the tools, didn't have the knowledge, didn't meet the necessary teachers or therapists to do so. So when we understand that, and we understand that they committed violence because deep down they were actually scared. They were scared to fail. They were scared not to be lovable. They were scared not to be successful. They were scared not to be in control. When we do understand this, we find a point in ourselves when we learn to forgive and let go of that energy, and then it stops influencing us in our life. But forgiveness is the way. But I can't force myself to forgive. I can only forgive when I understand. When I have a deep understanding of why do people do certain things, then I can forgive. But as long as I want to judge them, label them, I will keep their energy with me, and it will sabotage my own life.
Oh, why didn't meet you when I was young? So I would save a lot of suffering.
Yeah, well, there are sides to suffering. You see, you need to suffer until you don't. We suffer when we are in resistance to who we are. So when you have deep down a calling or a wisdom, and you're supposed to embody that, not because it's forced upon you, but it is a decision that you made on a level of deeper intelligence to embody something in this life, to be an example of something in this life. So when you don't listen to your intuition, but you act from fear, for example, you prefer safety over creativity. Yeah, you prefer not taking risks over exploration. Yeah. So when you have these type of elements, you are restricting your own energy. And this is how depression begins. Depression begins because you are resisting your own soul energy. So you put an energy inhibitor on who you are. Basically, you limit your own self-expression. And to make this very clear, the opposite of depression is expression. If you don't express yourself, you become depressed.
I love that.
It's beautiful.
Now I know what I'm gonna do.
Everything is clear now.
Now it's clear. You cleared my path now.
She had a breakthrough. Awesome.
Oh my God. This is something that make us think a lot of us, because I wish I had this knowledge, what you're saying to me earlier, for me to understand my suffering, to understand. Now I'm not too late, of course, to learn, but I found that this information that we're providing right now, if young people would like comprehends the what we're saying, they're gonna save a lot of trauma, a lot of problems. For example, if you are like a 19 or 20, 21, you just have 21 years of trauma. give and take. It's more easy to move that trauma at 48, 50, and 60 years old, because you already went through a lot of stuff and you encounter a lot of stuff.
Yes, that's right. The thing is, when you carry over that traumatic energy into your adulthood, you keep continuing the pattern. So you basically bring energies that your parents had or your teachers had or something that you learned in society that was dysfunctional. You bring it into your own life. You keep accumulating pain. That means when you start healing, you basically you have a bigger amount of pain that you need to go through. Yeah, because we cannot heal without feeling the pain. The pain is a messenger. The pain is not something bad or evil. The pain is simply telling you you're out of alignment with who you are, and here you get a signal something needs healing. And a lot of people have learned that pain is bad, so they never investigate. Instead, they try to compensate through drugs, through distraction, through consumption. Yeah, basically distracting themselves from feeling pain, which is in that sense pretty tragic, because if you're not willing to feel the pain, you will not come to the understanding why the pain is there, because soul energy is blocked in that spot where the pain exists. And that means you basically disconnect yourself from the source of your own wisdom by saying pain is bad, I don't want to feel it. So what I see with young adults when they come to me, the work that we do is of course much quicker, because the mountain is less big.
Right.
The attachments are less big. The structures that they have created are less rigid, because they're still maybe going through their education. They're still in the process of planning their endeavor, planning their journey, so to speak. So the chance for intervention is much greater. And what's even more fascinating, if I have parents that are conscious enough to send their kids to me when they're teenagers, this is when the magic happens. Imagine a clean slate. Imagine someone who can be born into themselves without any blockage, right? Or the blockage being there are minor, right? And this is then when they are from a very early age. Think of someone who could be the next Picasso, but he is not recognized. And now think of a parent that trusts their own child and says, wow, my child is an artist. I know this. How can I teach my child channeling himself or herself so they can express themselves fully? And when you get to it early, they never develop those inhibitions, because most of you have learned to limit your light. You have limited your energy. You have limited your beauty. You do not really show who you are, because in the past you have been punished for showing who you are. It wasn't accepted, right? But later in life, when you're about to write your own journey, this basically becomes what holds you back. As a child, it protects you, right? If you have a parent that is not empathic and hurts you, right? When you hide your feelings from that parent, you kind of protect yourself. But when you're grown up and you want to take responsibility for your own creation, because this life that you're living is an art piece, and it's not less than that. No matter what people tell you, you're not here to pay bills. You're not here to be obedient. You're not here to be a slave to the system. You are here to be an art piece that is unique. And how many Picassos are out there that weren't discovered? How many Mozarts? How many Beethovens? How many great philosophers, right? How many of them have we not discovered because we were incapable of recognizing them at an early age? But now, since society becomes more conscious, those parents who have broken the paradigm, this unloving belief system that they have received when they were children, they now don't give it to their own children, but instead give them assistance early. And this is when, in that sense, they have access to what we could consider the alchemical gold, the key to transformation, which is self-realization. So then, when you don't have a conflict within yourself because you allow yourself to be fully yourself, you attract that in life. Many people ask themselves, why are they not successful? Because they try to be successful with something that they're not authentic with. It doesn't align with them. If you are an artist, you're not going to be a successful lawyer. Deep down, you want to be an artist, but you might be afraid to be an artist because your parents told you can't make money with that. And if you keep that belief, well, you're going to live a life of someone else. It's not your life. Does that make sense?
Totally, because that happens to me when I grow up. I want to be a decorator, and my father say, no, you have to go to study business administration, and I hate that. And I went because, I have to, but I was miserable going to school. But then I said, okay, that's fine. And my passion is to move furniture around, color the walls. The way I dress are very colorful. Everything I do is very colorful. So I had it in me, but my father cut it.
All right. And then be very careful about your narrative, because when you say your father cut it, you have
I
made
cut it
it
myself.
powerful in your mind. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
At some point, you made a choice as a child to not express that any further out of fear. Very understandable. So let's say we have compassion for the child that experienced the trauma at the time. But now, as a grown-up, when you have left that volatile situation, when you have left that situation where you were, let's say, hurt on a regular basis, now you can heal. Now you can begin a rediscovery of your own intelligence, of your energies, right? And when you understand, every time you express yourself, what you actually feel is liberation, freedom. So once you start expressing yourself with your colors, you immediately can sense the joy that you experience, because now you have let go of this energy inhibitor. Makes sense, does it?
Yes. Yes, like when I had this session with you last time, that you told me you just have to enjoy the present and be who you are. And then I said to myself, you know what? I'm just gonna go deeper into that, and I'm not gonna do makeup for 30 days and see how I feel myself, just not putting anything in my to cover anything. And I said the only thing I will put maybe a lipstick for the shows, but I'm not in that process. And also Kia attacked me the other day to be like a no makeup, and I'm sticking to it. And I know there's some days I'm gonna wake up and not gonna like it, because maybe I have like a dark circles, whatever we create in our minds. But I'm going through, and I said I wanna love myself, because once I love myself, I don't care about anything.
Hey, that's beautiful.
Right. See, that's a wonderful exercise in self-love that you're practicing, because I said it one time, and I say it again. For many women, makeup is war paint. Yeah, it's like being a native tribe and you go to war. You carry it like a shield, yeah, to be accepted in society, right? To hide behind it on occasion. So it's a nice experiment to see, do you appreciate yourself the same way with and without makeup? And the interesting thing is, when you can appreciate yourself without makeup, the way you will use makeup after that, you will use it in a different way, in an artistic way, not in self-denial, but as a way of highlighting who you are. Yeah? There's a difference. So what you said before, you were curious about ego death, right?
Yes.
Let me tell you this. Most people think compulsively. They don't think consciously. They just think because they have software in their nervous system that makes them think. Or the political programming, the programming from school, the programming from home. It runs without them even knowing, and it decides their life. Right? So the great psychologist Carl Gustav Jung used to say, if we don't make the unconscious conscious, it will delegate our life, and you will call it fate. So the interesting thing is, most people then use thought in an automatic way. And that is a way that has no freedom. It is full of rigidity. So it's a little bit like the makeup. You have a belief that makes you accepted in society, but it's not who you are. It's a mask that you wear in order to protect yourself. You go to church, you say, I have the same belief as all of you people, and my spiritual experience I'm not going to share because I'm terrified that you're going to judge me if I do. All right? So in that sense, we try to integrate the belief of our society because we are afraid to be rejected, to be exiled, to be punished for being our authentic self. Now, what happens if I get rid of all of that, like you got rid of the makeup? And once I get rid of all of that, when I clear out the room and I reach a point of stillness where there's no thought left, then I know who I am. Unfiltered. No distortion, no beliefs about myself. Complete clarity. And from that moment on, I can use thought as a tool of self-expression, but not as a tool of self-restriction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then it's like you said, with the makeup, you begin to behave differently, right? And you feel differently. And so whereas the makeup before might have been like protection because you were afraid, you're feeling less fear. So now you wear makeup because you enjoy it, you like it. This is how I feel. I had someone once ask me, if I was the only person on earth, would I still put makeup on? I wouldn't. That's what he said. You wouldn't put makeup on if you were the only person on earth. And we had this debate, right? And I said, yes, I would. And he said, no, you wouldn't. No, you would not. And I said, yes, I would. And I was like, you haven't taken into the account the fact that maybe I enjoy putting it on.
Exactly.
Maybe I like it. Maybe it's not for someone else. Maybe it's for me. Right. So I think I love what you said there, Julian. I think it does just change when you make these realizations.
Well, it is about what is your relationship with it. Is your relationship with it one of fear or one of self-expression? So there are many women who dress up because it's like wearing a uniform. You feel like you belong. You feel you're not being singled out. You're not being bullied if you appear in a certain way. You don't want to stick out. That's what many people have learned. You see this in many Asian countries where it's very conservative and very, very restrictive on the females, for example. So in that sense, it becomes armor. It becomes like a knight's armor that you wear to not be protected, but it's a hardening. And the hardening is never joyful, because if I harden myself, if I harden my body, what happens is that I restrict the energy flow. So we get sick. And this is what most people do not realize. Adaptation to an unhealthy society means you sacrifice your health. You need to sacrifice your health to be a part of an unhealthy society, because you need to basically put limits on your own energy to not be singled out. So the comfort that many people buy nowadays, they buy it with obedience. So I give you a very strong example. There's a famous spiritual teacher in India. His name is Sadhguru. He's a great yogi. And he once was asked by someone in the audience why he's always dressing so colorful, right? And then he said, and mind you, it's the Indian perspective. He said, I stopped wearing the clothes of the enslavers. You are still wearing it. And points to the man, and he's wearing a suit and tie. The people in India, they got it from the British. And the British were the enslavers. The empire that forced itself upon them, basically. So he got rid of the program by saying, I'm going to dress in the colors as a self-expression of who I am authentically. And he basically said, you are still wearing it because you think by obedience you get something from the system. So when you think about that, everything has been standardized. Is it helpful? Well, to some degree, I understand. It makes organization easier. But the question is, when do we lose balance? We lose balance when authentic self-expression is being punished. So a friend of mine who was a philosopher in the university, but also a psychology researcher, he said, Julian, realize this. Are you having the things, or are the things having you? Are you owning them, or are they owning you? So think about it that way. If you build a house, how you got the money to build the house plays a tremendous role. Did you buy the house with money by doing something that you love, that is in alignment with who you are? Or did you buy this house by doing something that you don't love. You're going to feel like a slave to the house because now you have to work more to maintain it. You have to pay taxes. You have to maintain the car. So the more you have, the more of a slave you feel.
Of course.
Except if you do what you love. So then the objects don't enslave you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. So right now, to be able to express ourselves is kind of a little bit difficult. Well, we can do it, but now the society is getting more tougher and tougher and more close with all the situation that we're going now, that we have things that are kind of mandatory. So it's kind of also slave just because we need to follow protocol right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's an interesting one because humanity has a choice here. And the choice is pretty clear cut. The choice is choosing sovereignty or not choosing sovereignty. People have believed for a very, very long time that delegating makes sense. So they have delegated to politicians, to priests, to corporations. But they have delegated because they didn't trust themselves. They didn't believe that they could make sane and wise choices by themselves. So they started delegating out of fear. But the thing is, if you do not trust yourself, and this is the energy with which you delegate, the system itself will be corrupt. And a lot of people still believe that they will be fine by obeying the system, but they won't. If you are not your own creator, and this is not an attitude of conflict, I want to make this very clear. To be your own creator eliminates the conflict in you. Because when you come into your own energy and you create a life that is worth living, that is meaningful, and you claim ownership for it, responsibility for it, this is what liberates you from the system. And then you stop blaming the system for where you're at. Now we are in a situation where many people who have trauma, collectively and individually, do not understand that taking energy from someone else doesn't liberate them. But what liberates them is coming into their own energy, removing their own energy restrictions. So if someone is not self-loving, they cannot accept others. If someone is self-hating, they are hating externally. And this is what a large group in the populace doesn't want to look at. That what they try to eliminate outside of themselves exists within themselves. And only then when they come into maturity will society transform in such a way that we meet each other as sovereign beings and not as needy beings, not as dependent beings, not as beings who are, conforming, who are conforming to a system in order to get a treat, in order to get a pat on the back. So since you're both from the US, and you understand the US Constitution, you know by what intent the US was founded. And it was founded with an intent to allow people their own sovereignty. And this is what people deny nowadays. There are issues, yes, but they're not as systemic as people believe. If I need to attack people for what I believe is privilege, then I do this because I want privilege. I want to have it easy. Now, why do I want to have it easy? Because I believe I cannot do it. There's a mistrust to oneself, an unloving attitude to oneself. And of course, this has been learned somehow. Yeah. So someone who has an unloving attitude to themselves have not been loved as a child. And now they think it's outside of them, but it's not. So by dethroning someone else and putting yourself on the throne, you're not solving the problem. You have just switched up from the role of victim to perpetrator, and you will create the new victims. But through claiming self-responsibility and having the tough talk that needs to happen in society to bring the changes about, and then co-creating together as sovereign beings, not as enemies. Because we're all one on the deepest level of existence. We're not separate entities on the deepest level of existence. That is nonsense. So When we believe in separation, we believe in fear. But when we understand oneness, we understand individuality can exist within oneness without conflict. There does not need to be conflict. Conflict is only there when you do not trust yourself and you do not believe that you could create a life worth living. So you try to take it from someone else who seems to have it. This is all fear-based, and it will cause further violence. It will not be the solution.
What do you think about this?
I will tell you what I think about it. I think that I think that everything is fear-based. I think on both sides, there's a lot of fear. And I think without that release and acknowledgement of the fear, you can't come together and as equals and work anything out.
Right. And that's a big one. Acknowledgement of fear. And this is where people don't love themselves. When you love yourself, you can acknowledge your emotion. You can allow yourself to experience being upset. You can allow yourself to experience to be disappointed. And you don't make it pathological. You don't have to immediately call it some sort of mental illness. You can look at your emotions and say, I allow myself to feel because I am the way I am. And that's all right. And many people do not allow themselves to feel because they have been told from a very early age on what you're feeling is wrong, what you're feeling is not allowed. And this has led to an accumulation of emotional energy. Emotion that is not expressed, that is not acknowledged, will accumulate. And at some point it comes out in a destructive manner. And this is what you see today. So certain questions are not a question of race, for example. They're a question of love and acknowledgement. As long as we focus on race, we cannot solve it. If we focus on equality, if we focus on creating a system that gives everyone equal opportunity, outcome we cannot guarantee, but we can create equal opportunity for everyone. So when we do that, self-expression becomes possible. And many people fear they didn't have the opportunity to express themselves. So the energy was built up for a very long time. Either they weren't heard by someone else, so they are unheard and they want to be heard. So they feel so desperate that they believe violence makes them to be seen. In a way, that's true. They are being seen, but the attention that they get is not the attention that leads to a solution. So while it is important to acknowledge the injustices, the unbalances in the system, especially economical, because it's more about economy than it is about race. Mm-hmm. It's more about people feel they don't have the same opportunities. It's more about that. So if we could rebalance this in a way that is healthy and that doesn't have to basically oppress someone else, because you cannot say you are the oppressed and then become the oppressor. It's the same energy. It will reproduce itself. Yeah, I give you a very clear example of that. So think about it. There's a young boy and his mother experienced sexual violence from a man. Now this young boy grows into young adulthood. From that moment that boy starts expressing masculine traits, the mother unconsciously starts punishing that boy for expressing masculine traits. Now that boy realizes I'm not allowed to express my masculine energy. What happens when he has a girlfriend? He's going to suppress the feminine energy in his girlfriend because it reminds him of his mother. And so the wheel turns. So we never get out of the wheel of karma, that is the wheel of suffering, if we don't understand that everyone has been perpetrator and everyone has been victim at some point in the history of mankind. There's not a single exemption. Everyone who has played the game has participated in the creation of suffering. No one is exempt. So unfortunately, very few beings have access to past life memory. right? But there are many regression psychotherapists, so hypnotists, who have over a long period of time regressed people under hypnosis and have recollected thousands of past life memories with great accuracy. Mainstream science hasn't acknowledged that yet, but many professionals over long periods of time have found those phenomena to a very high degree of accuracy. Something that is not just a hallucination, that is just not just a fever dream or a daydream. And when people start recalling those past life memories, they recall being white, they recall being black, they recall being woman, they recall being man, they recall being Christian, they recall being Muslim. So please tell me, where's the enemy to be found? I don't see enemies.
No.
I only see myself. I only see infinite expressions of myself. That's all I see.
Oh, I love that. What do you think about that, Gloria? I find it to be beautiful.
That is awesome. And I'm gonna apply that. So if you guys gonna see me more colorful and crazy, that's expressing who I am.
You, girl, you.
Because I'm you know, we are here on this earth for a very short time. So the time that we are here, I want to be authentic. I want to be different. I want to be me. I want to enjoy myself of the way the Creator made me and the way the Creator made me to be here and the mission that I'm here. I'm so happy that I woke up in this spirituality path, trying to cure all my traumas myself with help with other people like you. And again, I will say, I wish I can have the experience more younger, because I will feel much better. And today, I feel much better. I feel like a relief, peaceful. Now when I have an argument with someone, I don't engage like before. Like before, I was engaging like crazy and fighter and feisty and all this stuff. Yes, you can be all that kind of stuff sometimes, but now in a different way. And you, Julia, make me to understand that like a takeaway out of that state of that energy and focus from the energy that is the true.
Right.
And I love that.
So basically, it's about overcoming reactivity. And I want to make this very clear. Reaction is always something unconscious. It's never something conscious. It's never something of deep intelligence. Reaction that happens in the sense that it's automatic, that it feels compulsive, always will lead to limitation. It will not lead to creative answers that are in balance with everything that is around you. Right? So when we are reactive, what we are doing is we are basically acting from memory. And when you act from painful memory, you cannot help but reproduce it. When you are present in the moment, when you watch your breath, when you're consciously in the body, you feel the impulse of the memory arising. Now you have choice. Previously, you don't have choice. Now you can choose not to act on the painful memory. Now you can choose to have a creative answer to the current situation that does not necessarily leads to conflict, but often transforms the situation in such a way that it seems miraculous.
I'm going to give an example the way I do for people to understand a little bit about their reaction. Like when you are in like an argument with someone, you feel that we feel the emotion. We feel the emotion coming in. And you know, when you know yourself, you know what is coming next. So between the you know or what coming next is where you have to be like grounded and say, I'm not going to give the power to that. I'm not going to move forward with this reaction. I'm just going to let it be and be quiet and be like a more sense of what's going on. And right there is when I see a lot of stuff. Before, because I react and the energy is all over, I don't see anything. I just see only reactions. But when I just took the emotion out and say, I know what is next, I'm not gonna go that way. So that's the way people should do. Julian?
Well, yes. What you're doing is you create a conscious break. You create a conscious break between the emotional energy that comes in, yeah? Because someone might be angry, for example. Yeah, they approach you and they're really mad about something. And
Right.
every time someone is angry, they're actually deep down, they're terrified. They're very scared. Anger is fear, people. Anger is not a power thing. Yeah, you're not in control when you're angry. You are in a deep state of fear when you're angry. I want to make this very, very clear. So when someone comes at you, for example, with anger, now you feel that energy. When you're conscious in the body, before your own impulse to react comes up, you've created a conscious break by delaying it. So when you watch your breath, for example, you disrupt the reaction. The reaction cannot surface. You might feel the impulse, but now you have choice about acting it out or not acting it out. And the more you do not act it out, the less suffering you will create in your life. At some point, even the urge to act it out will completely fade away with practice. And then you're perfectly still. You cease to react to stimulus in your environment. And this is a powerful understanding. You do not suffer because of your life situation. If someone has a victim attitude right now, this will trigger them. We do not suffer because of our life situation. We suffer because of our beliefs about our life situation. Our beliefs create our emotions. So if someone with anger comes at me and I believe he is threatening me, I believe to be in danger, my reaction will be equally anger because I try to defend myself.
Right.
But if I see someone coming at me who is scared, who is terrified, who's not conscious at the moment, I will answer with compassion. I will be non-reactive. And maybe I can diffuse the situation with humor or some wisdom that that being doesn't expect, and it completely rips them out of their pattern. They struggle to maintain the pattern because in order to maintain their ego and to maintain the pattern, they need an opponent.
Of
If
course.
there is no opponent, they cannot maintain their ego. And what happens individually also happens collectively. If you think about the civil rights movement, and if you think about Martin Luther King, how was he diffusing the conflict? By saying, I have a dream about black and white children playing together. Right? How did Gandhi diffuse the situation in India with the British? By having a completely peaceful resistance. The British soldiers had no enemy to fight. You cannot maintain your own identity of being a protector, of being a soldier, of having ethics if you beat down peaceful people. Your ego cannot maintain. And this is why they freed themselves completely non-violently from the British. If the British would have had an enemy to fight, the suffering would have continued probably for a very long time. So when you understand, the moment you stop seeing life and people who are reactive as enemies, you stop seeing them as a threat to yourself, but you understand right now they're triggered, they're suffering, they're acting from trauma, they're not conscious of what they're doing. In that moment, you have choice. You develop the ability to diffuse situations, to transform situations, to assist people in healing. But first, it takes the ability to clear out your own energies. And the more you clear out your own energies through meditation, through psychotherapy, through hypnotherapy, through whatever healing work you do, the more you clear out your own energies, the less reactive you will be. Because the energy that comes at you needs fear in order to have an enemy. If you don't have any fear left, you don't respond to threats with fear. So you don't respond with anger. You don't respond with violence.
So practically, Julian, I did that when I was kidnapped. Remember I told you, and remember, Kia, I told you that I break the kidnappers just to be kind and to tell them, thank you for my food. You smell good. Thank you to be here next to me, to talk to me. and then so and so and so and so and so. I just, when I was about to be released, they hugged me and say, "Oh, congratulations, you're going to be free." It was like oh, this is normal. I thought it was not normal because supposedly you have to be like in fear. No, I was like, hey, I almost say, hey, have five, and go home. But it was like that. It was at the end. It was like I was not even feeling that I was kidnapped. I was feeling okay.
Right. And it's such a powerful lesson. It's such a powerful lesson because we have certain biases about situations. Okay. So I want to make it very clear. I'm not in denial of that violence happens. Yeah. I'm not in denial of that people, for example, get kidnapped like you experienced. But often our ideas about the situation do not allow us to respond in such a way that would be transformative. Physically, you couldn't have done anything in that situation. There was no way through power you could have gained control in any way. So it wasn't about control. It was about surrender. It was about accepting the situation that you experienced. And through that acceptance, your deeper self emerges. Yeah. An energy and intelligence emerged in you, which actually transformed the situation in a way that was unexpected. But from a level of fear, that wouldn't have happened. So your story is a very powerful example in an individual case. Yeah, what happened there in an individual case compared to what happened through the phenomenon of Martin Luther King or Gandhi.
Right.
It's the non-violent resistance, which actually comes from seeing those who commit violence. Yeah, you stop seeing them as enemies, but you see them as someone who is trapped in their own trauma. Now suddenly you have a way of responding that they don't expect. She's supposed to be scared, she's supposed to scream, she's supposed to resist, but she's kind to us. She has compassion for us. And that in that moment, they cannot maintain the perspective of controller. Because for that, they need to be afraid as well. But you put them at ease. And that is something very powerful. Yeah, but not powerful in the sense of domination or control. That doesn't lead to anything. Everyone who I try to control will control me. Who are the ones who are the most afraid? Are the dictators and the slave owners. Why? Because they know the people that they exercise control over, they're dependent on them. And when they choose to rise up, they're screwed. They know they live on borrowed time. Because they have created an imbalance, and this imbalance will be restored at a certain point energetically. The pendulum will swing the other way. So they know it. But when you forgive them, you put them at ease, suddenly there is no new round of perpetration. You didn't insult them. Yeah, you didn't try to verbally hurt them in any way, right?
No.
If you would have done, they would have felt justified in their kidnapping. That woman deserves it, right? Does it make sense?
Yes. I was in that moment, I was thinking only to save my life. I was like looking forward to get out of there alive to see my daughter. That was the only thing, my intention. So my intention tells me, my intuition told me, you need like the way we remember, Kia, the speech that we write together, that we said that we accept the situation for what it is in order to be in order to surround ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the acceptance was one of the key lessons that your kidnappers taught you. And your speech was about how to survive in a situation like that. And I thought it was a beautiful addition to your speech.
So that was like an example of killing my ego in that moment.
Very much so. Very much so. So to understand that, acceptance does not mean to throw oneself on the ground in a like embryo position. It doesn't know what it means. Acceptance means I allow the situation as it is. I stop resisting the situation. I stop fighting the situation. And through the allowing, through calming the nervous system, through allowing your intuition wakes up and higher intelligence starts operating through you. So not an animal, not biological instinct, not the limited personality, but a higher intelligence starts working through you because you allow the situation to such a degree that you become so calm and so still that a higher aspect of you can make choices that your ego could never make. Right? But what I would call this is a partial ego death, because it's a very specific situation. You go out of that situation, the extreme kind of brings it out of you, but now you're back, for example, back into a comfort zone. Now the ego comes back because you're in a comfort zone. So the trick is, how can I be in an egoless state without having to be pushed to the extremes? And then the spiritual work begins, where you try to find, where are you holding on to fearful beliefs? Where are you limiting yourself? Where are you making yourself small? And very important, in order to be yourself, you never need to diminish another being in existence. Right? This is the very difference between freedom and control. If I enjoy something that genuinely speaks to my soul, and I do it, but you don't enjoy it, it doesn't diminish what you enjoy, and what you enjoy doesn't diminish what I enjoy. That's important to understand. There is no right or wrong in that sense. Your self-expression doesn't threaten my self-expression. So if I feel threatened, my expression is not authentic. Only then I can feel threatened. Only when my expression is fake can I experience feeling threatened. I want to make this very clear. If you're true to who you are, you cannot feel threatened. Let's say your identity cannot feel threatened because you have none. Yeah, you only have an identity if you're not expressing who you are. So then basically in civil life, we try to, without the extremes, choosing to surrender to the present moment, to fully allow and let the deeper intelligence operate through us, which is non-violent and much wiser than whatever you've stored up in this life, in this brain. Everything in here is limited. But what is animating this, keeping this alive, is not limited. And it needs a clear gateway to express itself through the person. So therefore, the person needs to clear himself or herself of trauma so the signal can come through clearly. Because if you're full of fear, the intuition cannot express itself. It will be distorted by the ego, because the ego will try to gain control over it, gain benefits from it, abuse it, be corrupt in some sort of way. So we need to clear our own energies first, and then we experience effortlessness. We don't have to work for things.
Exactly. It happens for you. It happens for you.
Yes.
Kia, so you know how to kill the ego now? Because we have 57 minutes already.
For me, it's being in the present.
Yes.
And non-resistance. Non-resistance is presence.
Exactly.
I learned that when I feel the emotion coming out, silent is gold.
Right. But it's important to understand not to fight the emotion.
No.
Because this is when ego happens. Ego is the bias of what is allowed and what is not allowed. Ego is the illusion of good and evil. Yeah. And if I joke about it, we had that example before. If I joke about it, someone says, chocolate ice cream is evil, vanilla ice cream is good. It's preference. There's nothing good or evil about it.
Right.
Right? But when you identify with it, in order to be chocolate ice cream, you have to say, we got to eliminate vanilla. And that is the issue, that we do not realize ourselves as souls. But as you see, for example, right now in the US, the conflict that is ensuing, that we identify ourselves as white or black and not as souls. As souls, we can solve this. As souls, we have common grounds. As sovereign beings, we have common ground. But not as black or white. That is a limitation. So if my existence, if I think it can only exist if I eliminate another, And the existence that I believe to have is an illusion in my head. Because only what is unreal can be threatened. Nothing real can be threatened. Who you are on the deepest level of existence is beyond this world, is beyond time. Was there before the universe was there. You don't remember that yet. But once you do, your only answer to life is love.
Wow. 59 minutes already.
Well, we got the gold.
Oh my God.
Before,
Everything makes sense, Kia. Everything makes sense.
yeah. Awesome. Oh my gosh, Julian. It is always awesome to talk to you. Just magic. And I want to thank you so much for coming on. I know I didn't ask a lot of questions today, and I feel like I knew that was going to happen because I spent 2 hours with Julian earlier. So I didn't have a lot of questions today, but I also just love to listen to him. So, and I think everyone would agree with me. So thank you so much for spending some more time today, Julian.
All right. I'm very grateful that you again offered the platform to me, because this is an opportunity for people to get in touch with themselves and maybe remember this spark within themselves that makes things possible, that they stop believing in, they stop trusting in. Well, if I use belief, please don't be confused. I have no business with beliefs in general. So I also tell this to the viewers and listeners: don't believe a single thing I say. Because too much belief is going on. Find out, verify it, become a sovereign, self-realized beings, and you don't need to rely on belief. You rely on knowledge directly as the receiver of it, as the source of it. You don't need a middle person. You don't need a priest, a politician who tells you. You just need to look within your own heart, and when you still your mind and you stop fighting life and you arrive in the present moment, your eternal self will make itself known to you.
And you guys, if you guys want to resolve your traumas and move on and kill that ego dead, contact Julian Posey. He will kill you. Well, he will kill your ego for you.
What a promise.
Well, there you go. Another gift from Hot Topics.
Our show kills.
Just your ego.
Yeah, he will kill your ego. He will tell you how to kill your ego, and you will resolve everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the work.
Well, ultimately, I'm not doing a single thing. I just make you remember what you already know. That's the key.
I already have like 2 sessions with him. What about you, Kia?
What was this? Was like the second one? No, the third one. Yes, this was the third one this week. Yeah. It was awesome.
It's awesome. All right, Julian, thank you so much to be in Hot Topics today. I know you're going to be closer to our home all the time in this show. We're going to bring you several times if you can. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about different topics so we can help people together. Because you really, really, really helped me, and I know it's helping Kia too in some ways. And I feel so peaceful because of you.
Well, that's wonderful. Maybe as an idea, what might be interesting to your viewers is maybe that they submit questions that they have, that they watch the 2 episodes we had together, and then maybe come up with questions that are important to them, that relate to their life directly. Then we could maybe see if we answer some of those questions together.
That's awesome idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, just write to us. And if we have like a 2 or 3 people with some personal questions, we're gonna bring Julian again, and we're gonna be able to answer those questions that you want to answer from him.
Cool.
I like that. Okay. So to do that, you can do it two ways. You can send us a direct message to our Hot Topics Live message account. Go to our page and just contact us that way. Or when we're live with Julian, you can submit a comment, and we can always do it that way as well.
Exactly. All right, Julian, I'm going to put you in the green room. If you want to wait for us, you wait. If not, if you need to go, it's okay too.
I still got a few minutes for you. It's fine.
All right. Okay. Hold on.
All right.
Ciao.
Thank you, everyone.
Wow. That was awesome.
Yeah, I love talking to Julian. He's a lot of information that I already know somewhere that he reminds me of. And
yeah, me too. I'm so happy because now I can understand much better the whole thing. Now I'm making sense. Before I was not making sense, yeah.
Only half of the time, my love. Just kidding. Oh my God. That's an inside joke. So anyway, but you always made sense to me, my love. Almost too much sense sometimes. So what a great episode. And I love the idea of people submitting questions for Julian. That would be amazing. And I'd be interested to see what people ask him because
Me
wow.
too.
Yeah.
And if one of those people are like that, they ask if that they are in our show, like watching our show, we probably can bring them with us in this show, so the person can direct to Julian right there and there, like we bring it like by surprise. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's
Let's see
exciting.
if it happens. If you guys wanted that happens, make it happen. We make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. So shall we wrap it up?
Yes, we have to wrap it up.
All right. Well, you have been watching Hot Topics Live. I'm Kia Baker, and I am the host of the Female Veterans Podcast, the upcoming series Women Warrior Stories, and a success coach at London Real Academy. And I appreciate your time and for coming on this journey with us and hearing everything that Julian has to say, because we really think he's valuable and can help people, and we want to help people. So we hope he helped you. And set your notifications, because sometimes we just come live, and that way you'll be notified when that happens and you don't miss anything. And join us tomorrow at our normal time on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, at 6 p.m. Pacific. And we'll have another incredible guest for you where we can have another great conversation. Yeah. And I'm, as always, joined by my beautiful and fun co-host.
This is the colorful Gloria Goldberg, the founder of the podcast Unbreakable Life with Glory. We're talking about depression and anxiety, PTSD, in a colorful way to make you feel better.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
Colorful way. That's new.
That's new.
I like that a lot. I don't like the addition of that. And so, shall we say goodbye, my love?
Yeah, let's say goodbye. Thank you, everybody, to be in our show today. We have so much fun. I hope you have fun too. And we do all this information for you guys to move on, to transcend, to be in enlightenment, and to be able to cope. To be in this moment of this world right now, that's very difficult for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. If you understand what Julian said today, if you pay attention to this episode and the episode before, you will understand more about yourself, and you're gonna be more at ease in this world right now. Right?
Agreed. 100%.
All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Love you. Ciao, ciao.